Philosophy is normal life, and they all end with death. This video is an inquiry to death, processing by going to a few philosophers' thoughts about it. And let's start with Boswell's interview with the dying Hume.
Hi Hume, why are you so happy? Aren't you afraid of afterlife?
It's possible that a piece of coal put on a fire might not burn, but it is most unreasonable to think that we should exist forever.
Well, if you are not believing in afterlife, then what about annihilation? Aren't you afraid of that?
I am no more perturbed by the idea that I should cease to exist than by the idea that I did not exist before I was born. I'm busy doing some thinking now. So help yourself.
Alright, bye.
Kant took a step forward from Hume. He's trying to digging out some of the old tradition, old philosophers thinking of death back in the time of religion. And he found out that people back then saw death as a final judgment day. By that point, whatever they did in their life will be judged at that day by a god, and that determines what they will be in eternal afterlife. Schelling opposed his thoughts about death from the idea of aliveness. So why do we have self-conscious? Why do we have free will? And he found out is you have to have a first principle of vitality or stuff like that to fight with your instinct, your desires to retrieve that free will. And Schelling thinks that the free will and the being is only achieved at the exact moment of death. Heidegger thinks being as a congruent identity. It's not separate from our physical entity, our body, nor from the thing we interact with every day. He called it meta-thing. And think, driven from this new definition of being, he would think that's not as a contradictory to the way of being, but merely the vanish of a part of our being. From Enlightenment, Hume and Kant to later Romanticizing, Schelling, and modern time Heidegger, their thought of that seems very different. It is a process of abandoning the old tradition, then to somehow trying to find something useful in that tradition, then finding out this intimate relationship between aliveness and death, and finally redefining of the concept of being to so that it doesn't contradict with death anymore. And so death is now more familiar to us, and it is like a stranger turns into a friend.